Hey, Richie, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to open the May 21st, 2020 Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Josh, seconded.
Yes.
Discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, signal by saying aye. Roll call.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Richie Lombard, aye. The Selectmen's meeting is now open. I have an opening statement. I want to share with you, we lost the former Selectman Jimmy Husker, who died over the week, and he was one great individual. Super guy. He helped so many people. Not only was a selectman in the town of Nahant, but he was the director of the lottery as well. And him and Gene, I tell you, they were a great family. He was very good friends of mine. And Gene, and I tell you, it was unbelievable, the rapport I had with Jimmy. And the number of people that Jimmy helped out, not only at the lottery, but at other places of employment throughout the state. He was just an individual that he helped so many people, and he was just one outstanding guy. I mean, I remember, it was a great guy, great man, great selectman, great family man. He was just a true gentleman. I remember,
Tell the story.
the what?
Tell the story of the note. Gene's note to me.
Oh yeah, Gene Husker wrote a note to Bonnie,
After we had the hardest.
and we had a debate, heated selectmen's right contest, and she was just so they were just so nice, Gene and Jim. And we went to the house, congratulated Jim. Of course, and then of course the state came down and said he couldn't serve both the lottery and the selectmen. So but he was just a great guy, and an individual that gave a lot for not only for the state but for the town of Nahant too. He placed a lot of kids in town in summer jobs, and especially on the state level. And I tell you, he was just a great family guy. I mean, and he was a good guy. He's going to be so remiss, and I just want to talk about him because he was a good friend. Him and Gene were very good friends of Bonnie and I. And he was the type of individual that, he'd go out of his way to make things happen. I remember when we had the floods, and he was responsible for getting all the brand new fire engines, and the police cars, the ambulance, and he was just, he went out of his way to take care of the town of Nahant. And I'll never forget him. He was just, I bring him up because he was just a great individual. And not only was great for the state, but he's great for the town of Nahant. And we're going to miss him. And I want to just bring that up again for the minutes. And I really, yeah.
Richie, I'm so glad you brought it up. You know that, Jimmy was my uncle. And I know that, Richie, you had a great connection with him.
Yeah.
You and Jimmy ran against each other. First time you ran for selectman. I think Jimmy won by 3 votes, something like that. And from then on, we called him Landslide Jim. But
yeah, Mayor White, they were all up at the country club, and I went up there and I congratulated. And Kevin White said, "Boy, great campaign." And he was a good guy. He was just a great guy.
Well, I'm a graduate of the Jim Husker Bob Crane University, and I remember that night vividly up the country club. And a long line of this is when all the politicians used to have the big limos they used to drive around in, and Kevin White, Bulger, Bob Crane, And they all came into town. They had signs on the top of the roof that said "Hacks for Husker." Right?
Yeah.
We had a
Yeah.
good time back then, Richie. It was fun.
Oh, no, it was a fun time. We were always good friends before and after. And Gene and Jimmy were so nice to Bonnie and I, but it was a close race. I never, I think it was the first time I outran.
It was your
and,
first time, right? Yeah.
I lost by, I don't know, 7 or 8 votes, but Jimmy was, he was a true guy, he was just a great guy. And Gene too. I mean, they were very nice to Bonnie and I, before and after the election. So you couldn't ask for a better, and we've always been friends. I mean, we were friends before. I used to deliver newspapers to him when I was a paper boy down on Fox Hill Road. Yeah, I used to go down there and deliver the newspapers, and he asked me the capitals. Of course, I was, I don't know, 12 capitals of each state. And I had a cheat sheet in my arm. Kept looking them up sometimes, and it was unbelievable because when I collected, we sat down for about an hour, half hour, 45 minutes, and he'd start asking me, what's the capital of Delaware? Unbelievable. He was just a great individual, and both him and Gene. And he's going to be missed, and he gave a lot, not only for the state, but he gave a lot for the town too, because I know he took care of a lot of people, a lot of kids, getting summer jobs on the NBC, lifeguards, and he was just that. He had that response. Him and Bob Crane. I mean, they were just, he was just a good guy, and he served not only the state well, but he served the town well. I mean, he was responsible for getting a lot of equipment when we had the flood. Fire trucks, ambulance, police cars. We were all flooded. We went down I think we had to save some people on Fox Hill Road, and Jimmy was down there.
Yeah.
He went down there and saved Mel Dimmitt. It was Mel Dimmitt was trapped in the cellar basement.
That's right. Talking about the fire trucks, here they come down the high road, Tony.
Yeah.
What's going on up there? I hear the sirens.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting Tony nervous here.
Yeah.
Huh?
I only get nervous, Tony, when I see Lynn coming in about 15 minutes later. Then you know you got a problem.
Oh boy, is Lynn coming in? You got a fire or something?
No.
Was it a parade?
Lately, Mark, if the lights flicker, I get nervous lately.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Oh, Mark, no, you kidding me? He was a good friend, and I want to say that. What the hell's going on?
I think Deb just joined us, and I think the sirens were it's funny. I know where the trucks are based on who's the sirens coming over.
Well, they're going over up Oh, it's a birthday. Oh, it's a
Okay.
Bonnie's. It's a birthday or graduation. They're gonna. Yeah. We got police cars and they're celebrating birthdays in the town, and isn't that great? Graduations, isn't that nice? Huh?
A different world. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Good for the kids. Especially the kids are getting sirens, and I think that's great.
It's
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's probably worth mentioning in opening comments, that it is unfortunate that a lot of graduating students, high school, college, Johnson Elementary, are facing kind of an awkward end to their school year. And so, I just congratulations to all of them. I know there's a bunch of signs up around town, and so. No,
I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, it's kind of sad that these kids, the normal progression and things that happen for graduation, whether it's from the ninth grade going to the high school, or the high school going to college, or college, whatever it is, just they can't really, you know, it's just one of these off years. It's sad. I just like to see how these kids. I hope they enjoy the graduation somehow with the parents, and it's great to see and great to hear, and congratulations on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to all the graduates, for all different schools. I mean, it's quite an accomplishment. Okay, before I get to you, Tony, I just want to go through a few things. We've gone, the Governor Baker, phase one of the reopening, we've gone through that. Local orders for potential change in accordance with Governor Baker's phase one reopening guidelines. I think we've got that, Tony's got that all set up, and he's discussed it with already. Am I right, Tony?
Not yet. I can get started on that now, actually.
Okay.
So we have Dan Script, Town Council's on the line, so is our health nurse, Deb Murphy, and I don't know if John Coulon's on the line quite yet, but he can unmute himself if he hears me.
John, are you on the phone, John? John Coulon, are you on there?
Don't think he's on yet.
Okay, well, that's a violation of the chairman's rules, so he. Okay.
Deb, do you want to start us off with the statistics?
Sure. Yep. So I'm sure people know that we now have a total of 40 cases in Nahant. They're not all active right now, but we've had a total of 40. We had 3 new cases this week. I'm waiting on some more test results to come back, so we may have a few more cases actually coming in. The other thing I just might add is the people right now that have a positive are very sick. You know, it seemed a couple of weeks ago that people would get symptoms and they would, they would in a few days feel a lot better. But what I've noticed in the past week or two is the people that are actually testing positive, it's taken a good 2 weeks for these people to bounce back with complications. So I know people are very excited, about all the, the opening now, and the weekend coming. I've seen lots and lots of things in town that are really people just, kind of tossing the regulations out the window. But I would say to people still, you really have to pay attention. Remember, a lot of people that test positive are asymptomatic. I have a few of those on too that never had a symptom, and they were tested because now all of the close contacts are being tested. That's a new mandate that came out. So, I mean, I want to go out and have a great time too, but, keep your masks on, keep your distance. I know there's a lot of graduation parties going on, a lot of birthday parties, and it's exciting to finally see people again, but I'd like us to be at a little bit better place number-wise without seeing cases come in, pretty frequently still. So, and I did see on the news today that CVS now is going to be opening starting tomorrow for what they call the self-swab. So you have to call and make an appointment. I think the closest one to us was Salem. And you could make an appointment. They'll give you through the drive-through a little test kit. You swab yourself, put it in a plastic bag, and return it to them. And you can get your results in a couple of days. For people that are not, this is not the antibody test. This is the nasal swab. So And then just one more thing, I do have some travelers that are still coming home from Florida. And the governor's mandate for 2-week quarantine is still in effect. So, and I have forwarded those people the quarantine regulations. So that's my update for this week.
What about with the Jasmine, with the nursing home there?
So the Jasmine is in fabulous shape. They retested all of their positive patients, and it's interesting. One came back positive, and then they retested them, and one came back positive, the same person. So they were today retesting the facility, and they have nobody in the hospital. They have no one there with symptoms. For the last couple of weeks, they've been doing great. And I think the person that continues to test positive, there are people who, although they are not contagious after they've gone, the 2-week period, you can still see the virus test them positive. It's not, it's rare, but it has happened. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. So we should have those test results by probably not the week. Oh, Monday's the holiday, but I think the labs are still working. We should have them in a couple of days.
So some good news there with the nursing home, with some of our most vulnerable population, and that they are and I've heard from others and from you, Deb, that the staff there are doing an amazing job. So I commend them for everything that they're doing and the turnaround that they've seen. On the other hand, as Deb mentioned, a lot of the cases that we're seeing recently are not in the nursing home. They're out in the community. And I have a list here from Deb that, since May 9th, we've pretty much gotten a new case almost every day or every other day, every couple days. We haven't had back-to-back days of no new cases in quite some time. And we'll be getting into what the governor, released about his phase 1 reopening. But the message that I have to the community, I'll try to do a call out tomorrow before the weekend, is that what the governor's doing is he's relaxing restrictions, but municipalities are not allowed to relax restrictions ahead of him. But we are allowed to relax restrictions after him. We can keep restrictions on beyond the dates that he's allowing them to be lifted. And he's allowing that because he wants he's giving municipalities the ability to adjust based on, the data within that municipality and the surrounding areas. Revere, Everett, Lynn, all very high case rates. And here in Nahant, like we said, it's almost like we're heading in the opposite direction that we want to be heading in, where we're getting a lot of new cases recently. So, I know it's a struggle, and I know it's a hard pill to swallow when you see the governor relaxing restrictions and other communities being able to follow suit. But here in Nahant, I'm not comfortable really with opening up at the same rate. As far as playgrounds go, I don't feel like we're comfortable that we can open playgrounds up as soon as Monday, the 25th. And again, I'll get into some of the details of what the governor is doing, but things like that, we may want to take a slower approach and really wait to see what the data shows. I'd like to see like 3-4 days or more of no new cases before we start encouraging group gatherings at parks, at beaches, at baseball fields, things like that. So Governor Baker and John Coulon's on the phone now, and as I said, Dan Scripp is on the phone too. So you guys jump in when you're ready. But Governor Baker, did put out guidance last week or earlier this week that starting this week, houses of worship, construction, manufacturing, gun stores were all able to open this week. Other types of businesses like curbside retail, personal services like hair salons, barbershops, dog groomers, car washes, things of that nature, were allowed to use this week to start developing safety plans that have to be approved by our local agent, to be opened as soon as May 25th, but no sooner. He also announced that new beach guidelines that would go into play starting the 25th. I know that even though he has new guidelines for beaches that goes beyond just transitory activity, the parking lot on the causeway, as well as Linshore Drive parking spaces and Revere, and many DCR coastal beaches are not opening up this weekend. And likewise, we won't be opening up parking in town this weekend as well. Like I said, I'd like to see, especially given that parking is still being restricted on the causeway and in the neighboring communities, which is sending that message that people shouldn't be rushing to the beach quite yet. I don't want to be opening our parking lots and encouraging large groups of folks going to the beach here in Nahant, especially where the numbers have been trickling in every couple days. That being said, we understand that tomorrow's going to be in the 70s. This weekend is going to be a nice weekend, and next week it's going to be in the 70s all week. So we understand that people are eager to get to the beach. We have ordered signage that lays out those beach rules. Some of the rules include 12-foot distance between towels or beach chairs or groups of beachgoers. No more than 10 people in a group. That you wear a mask when you can't. You still have to adhere to wearing a mask when you can't keep a 6-foot distance from others. You don't have to wear a mask while you're swimming. If you are outside of 6 feet of other people, you do not have to wear a mask. We're also putting together cleaning protocols as far as the restroom goes, and marking spots off on where you line up for the restroom, so that people are keeping 6-foot distance while waiting in line for the restroom. And we're marking off the areas on the beach at the entrances and exits, so that people aren't sitting or setting up their towel or beach chairs right by the ramp or stairs when you get down onto the beach, so that folks who are going to the beach or leaving the beach are not forced to be within that space of someone else. We had a call with all the brick and mortar business owners last week on Friday. We were hoping to do another call this week. It got a little bit away from us, but we still are going to attempt to keep that line of communication open. And they're all working with us. And as you may be aware, many of our food establishments that had the ability to be open, but maybe were not, are now opening back up. And John has been working with each of those owners to take a look at their safety plans and make sure that they're adhering to the guidelines of the governor when it comes to food establishments. John, do you want to say anything about working with the local businesses?
Our conversations have included the fact that the business owner is responsible for activity that occurs within their establishment. So customers and employees must wear masks inside the establishment, and that is on the owner to enforce. We certainly assist and have conversations with anyone who wishes to talk about it. It's also responsibility of the owner to make sure that the interior, if customers are entering, the interior must be obviously marked. Typically, markings on the floor will suffice. And from what I've seen, customers have been very courteous and compliant about going along with the markings that have been established by the owners. And even when the spacing is outside the establishment, the owners have been encouraging their customers to contact them, to make an order, to arrive and stay in their car until their order is ready. No more than one person from the party to enter to pick up the order. Sometimes the establishment owner finds it better to have an employee bring the product out to the car. That way, reducing the necessity to clean frequently touched surfaces and keeping the interior to be for employees as much as possible. It's worked out well, and people have been contacting us, discussing options and possibilities, because after all, a business person needs to be in business. We all recognize that, and as difficult as it is for them, they are also cognizant of and attempting to be compliant with the mandates from local and state levels. So it's been going pretty well, I think. As much as people would like to return to whatever their normal was, there is a recognition that this thing is serious, and that Massachusetts remains one of the highest in the country, and that we are in the group of 10% of states that account for 80% of the cases and deaths. So while we see on the news all the various states and regions where people are apparently relaxing the restrictions, this is not us yet. As Deb was alluding to earlier, she sees the numbers, the real numbers, and it's only through people's cooperation and the cooperation of the business owners that we've been able to do as well as we have. So I'll stop there.
John, thank you. Both John and Debbie, I want to thank you on behalf of the Board of Selectmen for all your extra efforts during all this extra work you both of you have been doing. And on behalf of the board, I just want to say thank you to both of you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Richie.
Dan, did you have anything else to add
Yeah, I want to highlight something you said, Tony. We do have the ability to be a bit more strict than the state mandates because we're such a susceptible community given our numbers and the most recent ones that came out yesterday. So even though the governor might say 10, town hall and the selectmen and the board of health more particularly can say 5. And that's because we can tailor our individual reopening to our individual community. So if folks are only looking at the state level mandate, they should also be paying attention to the local level mandate that comes out every once in a while.
Tony, if I could build on what Dan just said, I just want to compliment the owners of Seaside Variety and Seaside Pizza for on their own initiative lowering their interior maximum from 10 to 5. That was the right thing to do on their part.
And the hot fish and lobster too.
Correct.
Right.
Great news. Great news.
Yeah, Dan brings up a great point, and I think that what folks really need to understand is that we are doing everything we can to put orders in place to protect everyone's health, because there are so many folks that are asymptomatic, like Deb mentioned, and we're doing our everything we can to educate the public about the seriousness of the illness, the seriousness of the existence of the virus here in Nahant, and the precautions that folks should take to not only protect themselves, but their friends, their family, and others, their neighbors. When it comes to, the beach, we all know how active the beach gets once the summertime comes. And we all know that there used to be a lot more beach to hang out on, and when the tide comes up, it gets tight on that, on all of our beaches. I don't think there's anybody in this world that isn't aware of how serious the situation is. And it's really getting to the point where folks need to make decisions for themselves. They really need to police themselves. Government and government officials don't have the resources to make sure that everyone has a mask on every time they come within 6 feet of someone else, or every time it goes from a group of 10 to now like 2 more people come over and it's a group of 12. We're not going to be there constantly. So it's really up to you as an individual to take in the information that we're providing you, take in the guidance that you are getting, and make decisions for the best of you and others next door to you. And likewise, I also wanted to mention that at the wharf, now that the boats are gone, and activity at the wharf tends to increase as the weather warms up. There will absolutely be no loitering allowed on the wharf itself. In the past, we've had groups of kids, residents and non-residents of all ages, come to the wharf and enjoy the wharf, and that's okay. But sitting on the wharf and sunbathing on the wharf, it's just too tight of an area to allow for something like that with the current coronavirus situation. So we will be enforcing pushing folks off of the wharf. If you're there to swim, enjoy the water, come out on the wharf, get to a boat, unload, load up, do what you need to do. But as far as sunbathing goes and hanging out on the wharf, we just simply can't allow it. It's too tight of a space, and we would encourage folks to utilize Crystal Beach or Tudor Beach or some of the other more spacious open space areas along the water. Um, Any questions? Comments?
I like I like the new stairs down to the beach. They're beautiful. Thanks, Zach and Tony.
Is Zach on the phone?
No, he's not, but,
Okay. Pass along a thank you. That was very nice. Nice set of stairs in both, to the beach, at both ends, you know. They're very wide and it looks great. I can't get over those.
absolutely, those are, CPC funded.
Oh, good. Are you gonna be cleaning the beaches tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So, you know, like I said, we understand people are gonna go to the beach. We don't want to encourage people going to the beach, but we understand people will go to the beach. And, you know, while they're there, we want them to have a good experience, and we want them to try to follow, be educated with what the guidelines are from the state, and try to follow them as much as possible. So we will have the beaches cleaned. We will have barrels out. We will have the restrooms ready to go, and we are working on we've installed hand sanitizer in each of the restrooms. We are cleaning them at the beginning of the day, cleaning them depending on, you know, how many people are on the beach, if it's needed, and then clean them a second part of the day, and then weekly having a deep cleaning in all the restrooms as well.
Well, the only restrooms is at the wharf, right? That's the only one we got, right?
And at Short Beach.
Yeah. Coast Guard Station.
Yes.
All right. Tony, you got anything else?
No, we can move on.
Okay. The annual town elections are going to be Saturday, June 20th. Planning for the polling stations, the change due to the COVID-19. The absentee ballots are in the process now. You can get an absentee or submit an absentee ballot to the town clerk. A request for an absentee ballot. Memorial Day tribute. We've already completed that, and thanks to Bobby Joe, who kind of filmed everything, and she has just done an outstanding job. I want to give a congratulations out to Bobby Joe. She filmed all the speeches at the cemetery, and so the Memorial Day tribute, it will be on Memorial Day. We had the wreath ceremony at the wharf already. We had the speakers at the cemetery. They did an outstanding job in that. And of course, Bobby Joe was responsible for filming all this, and this is going to be shown on the 24-hour tape on the Nahant channel come Monday, Memorial Day. And that was a great tribute. We had a great tribute to all the servicemen and women that served the town, and it was a great tribute. You can purchase your beach parking sticker right now in the Nahant.org. You can just sign up for that. The water sewer bills will be due Tuesday, June 23rd. I think they're sent out already. And that's about it. We've launched the boats already off the wharf, and Public Works will be down there shining that place. And we had no incidents with Robbie Tibble. Congratulations to him. He got all the boats off in a timely fashion, and that's quite a project every year, and God, we had no incidents down there. All the boats are at the moorings, so it was great. And I want to congratulate Robbie too, for doing an outstanding job, not only as a dual responsibility as the harbor master, as the wharfinger as well. He's done a great job down at the boat storage for the winter and getting the boats off in time for the 21st. And then when our public works will go down, if Zach's listening, we just got to clean that parking lot and get it prepared for the Memorial Day weekend.
He's on the call, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, he is?
Yes.
Oh, Zach?
Rob Thibault.
Robbie, congratulations. Nice job down there.
Thank you, Richie. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it.
You've always done a great job, and you're wearing the two hats, harbor master and the wharfinger, and boy, it's like clockwork down there. And I know Tony will make sure the public works go down and cleans that parking lot and get that ready. They'll probably be down there tomorrow.
We're ready for him.
No, you did a great job. It's good to get in on those boats in storage. Thank you. I mean that, Robbie. You run a tight ship down there.
Yeah, you're welcome, Richie. It's a pleasure doing it. You know, I'm only doing it for the money and the prestige.
Get rich quick scheme, Rob.
Same with the selectmen
I'm
too.
sorry?
Get a lot of money.
Get rich quick scheme.
Oh, absolutely.
I asked Tony to put the money in, but he said no for the selectmen. So they got to blame Josh and Mark. Got to talk to him, you know. But anyways, it's a pleasure. You've worked hard down there, and you always have, doing both the jobs. And the wharf looks like it's just in. I was down there the other day, and the parking, everything was well taken care of. And you got the boats in and off there, and no problem. And everything's on the mooring, and it's great. Thank you.
We get a lot of help. A lot of people working together to make it all happen, Richie. It's a pleasure doing it.
No, you've got a great team working down there, and I appreciate. Not only say you can tell them thank you on behalf of the board.
Will do.
Okay, Tony, what do you got next?
You have new business. You have selectmen meeting minutes to approve.
Okay, we got on the new
Is there
business.
anything else you wanted to say about the town election?
Oh, yes. So we've actually heard a little bit from folks in the town, a little confusion, I think, out there about how the election's going to work. So I want people to know that we will have in-person voting on June 20th here at the town hall. It will be a little bit different when you get here. Instead of being down in the Tiffany room, we're likely to be upstairs in the main hall. We are working the logistics out on that, but we want to be able to provide, enough space to folks that are in the building and manage how many people are coming through the poll station at a time, so that it's done, socially distant in proper form, and we can utilize the space of the main hall a little bit more, spread things out a little bit better in the main hall than whereas down in the Tiffany room. So folks still have the option to come and vote in person on the 20th. For folks who are not going to be here on the 20th or don't feel comfortable coming to the town hall and voting in person, you have an alternative option, which is to submit an absentee ballot. Now, in order to submit an absentee ballot, you first have to submit an application for an absentee ballot. And this is all state law. This isn't the town of Nahant adding extra hurdles for you. This is according to the state law. I posted it on the town hall Facebook page tonight, and it's also on the clerk's page on the town hall website. You can download the absentee application off of the website. You can pick up, if you don't have a printer at home, you can actually, we have printed forms in the outdoor filing cabinet on the Pleasant Street side of the town hall on the ground level, across from the library. There's a filing cabinet outside, and there's absentee application forms in there. If you don't have a printer, you can grab one there. You can also call or email Carol Nelson, the town clerk, and request that she mail you an application. So we're trying to provide as many ways to folks that they can get an application. When you fill that application out, you can mail it in, or you can drop it off in the drop box by the front door of Town Hall. And then Carol will mail you an absentee ballot. And you fill out that ballot, and that ballot has to be received here at the Town Hall before polls close on Election Day, June 20th. You have until noon the day before to request to submit the application for an absentee ballot. So June 19th. Obviously, if you are requesting the ballot to be mailed to you, and then you intend to mail it back, doing it the day before is just no way we're going to get it to you, and you're going to get it back to us in time through the mail service. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, due to legislation that recently passed, folks who are not registered yet, you can register up until 10 days prior to Election Day. Previously, it was 20. So you have until June 10th to register as a voter. So, encourage folks to utilize the absentee ballot if you feel uncomfortable coming into Town Hall the day of the election. But I do want folks to know that we are going to put proper measures in place to ensure everyone's safe and healthy while coming through the polling station. Dan, did you want to mention something?
You made it. You nailed it. They can apply for an absentee ballot as late as the noon before the day, and it needs to be submitted before the polls close at 8 o'clock on Election Day. One thing I want to make sure that is known is that this is called an absentee ballot or an early voting by mail ballot. Typically, absentee ballots require a reason, such as in the military, out of the country. Not this year. Just the concern about the COVID-19 balance is sufficient to get an absentee ballot, and there are no questions asked. You need a written application to get that ballot. You submit it, as I mentioned earlier.
And just lastly, obviously, once the town hall is open to the public, which I'm hoping we'll get there before Election Day, sometime in early June. Obviously, folks can come in and request the application right from the clerk. You can fill it out right there in the town hall and submit it, and she will provide you a ballot that you can fill out in the town hall and submit, or she will mail you one. So once, there'll be another option once the town hall is open. A lot of the things I spoke about before are due to the fact that the building's closed. So there's, like I said, I'll just repeat it again. You can download it off the website. You can and print it and mail it in, or leave it in the Dropbox. You can go on the Pleasant Street side across from the library, the ground floor entrance to Town Hall. There's a filing cabinet outside that door that has absentee applications in it. Or you can just call or email Carol at cnelson@nahant.org, and she will mail you an application.
Hey, thanks, Tony.
You're welcome.
Richie, on opening comments, it's Mark. Tony, I know that Jen McCarthy had brought up some issues about the summer program in 4th of July. Is she going to talk about that in Citizen Forum?
She can do it. Is Jen on there now?
No. No, she's on the call.
Okay, all right, maybe we can do it at our next meeting.
Okay, do we have time, Mark? Yeah, we have time. This is on the fireworks?
Well, fireworks in the summer program, and all of that, I know she had
The races and all that stuff?
all that stuff, so. Maybe the next meeting.
Is she on there now?
I don't see her on the call right now. I'll just say that, while the governor's guidelines, as I mentioned earlier, while the governor's guidelines seem to relax some restriction on outdoor recreational activity and group gatherings, we here, again, we are still seeing cases pop up pretty regularly and not in a confined nursing home, out in the community. So I'm still hesitant to opening playgrounds that we can't clean regularly, or basketball courts, tennis courts, and certainly with the July 4th fireworks, we're not sure if we're going to be able to have fireworks on the 4th of July. But our contract with the fireworks company, we do not get penalized so long as we have the fireworks before the end of the calendar year. So we may be doing it later. We may be doing it later in the season, later in the year. So we haven't made a decision yet. It's a fluid situation, I guess.
You haven't made a decision yet, or what, you want us to make the decision, or you're gonna make it?
No, if I had to make a decision right now about the 4th of July, I would say we can't do it. We can't do it on the 4th, but we don't have to make that decision right now. And I'd like to see, I'd like to hear a little bit more about, I'd like to see the data. I'd like to see how our numbers respond to some of the relaxing of the governor's restrictions before we make that decision.
Well, Marblehead canceled their fireworks.
Right.
Boston canceled theirs. So,
I thought that, I was just trying to check the past notes, but I thought that Jen McCarthy talked about that at one of our previous meetings and had decided to not have it on the 4th of July.
oh, I haven't
To
heard
push
that.
it out, right. But I can't
I
see
think,
that
what she said in an email today was that, obviously the decision is not yet made, but
okay.
her hunch is that it probably wouldn't happen. And she does have the fireworks company penciled in for later.
Right.
Weekend.
If the moment arrives, I'd like to ask a question.
Mr. Moderator.
Is this the moderator? Mr. Moderator, good
Yes,
evening.
sir. It is a
Anything-
good evening. Thank you very much. So
Anything for you?
in talking about the Memorial Day, there was a statement saying, we're ready for them. I hope it wasn't really made clear that the Memorial Day parade is not going forward, and that the broadcast of the ceremonies that have been filmed is being shown on the TV in lieu of the parade, so that we don't have loads of people running down to the wharf or going to places to gather and to watch the parade. There won't be one.
So,
For chiming in, Dave, I guess I agree. It wasn't entirely clear that it is canceled. There is no Memorial Day parade.
The actual,
And us too.
the activity for Memorial Day, we've already, we had the wreath throwing at the wharf. We had the speech in the cemetery. So the activities for Memorial Day have already been done, is already done. It's going to be on film. It's all on film. It'll be shown on Memorial Day itself. All the tributes and what the Memorial Day committee did, and the chairman and of course Bobby Joe. She filmed it all, and the speeches and everything else. So everything is going to be shown on Memorial Day, but all the exercises we've already completed. So so there is no parade or anything like that. It'll be on TV, on the Nahant channel running, throughout the day.
Mr. Moderator, I will be doing a community robocall tomorrow where I will restate that. And we've also connected with the Lynn item about putting something in the newspaper for Saturday. I'd like to, I also want to thank you, Mr. Moderator, for playing taps and, for the chairwoman of the Memorial Day Committee Parade Committee for all the work that she and Bobby Joe, worked. I know they've been working nonstop together on everything, so it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, Molly Conley did a great job organizing all these events and getting it all completed. It was just, so, and it's going to be shown on actual Memorial Day. It was all on film. Everything was videotaped. So.
Thank you, guys. And Molly, thanks you too.
Yeah, Molly. Yeah, where is she? Is she on there? Thank you, Molly. And Dave too.
Well, I didn't play taps on the bass fiddle. I had to play it on the bugle.
And you played it very, very well, Mike. Dave. You played it twice. It was very good.
And Mr. Chairman, Jen McCarthy has joined the call now.
Oh, okay. Hi, Jen. Is Jen on there?
She was a moment ago.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Oh, what happened? Did you cut her off, Tony?
I didn't. I was trying to give her the mic.
Come on, she's one of our all-stars. Are you kidding me?
I don't know what happened. It's like I don't know if she hung up by accident, maybe trying to unmute.
Okay. Jen, are you there?
I'll let you know when oh, here she comes. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hold on. Jen? Jen, I think you're back on. We were just talking.
Okay.
There you are.
Sorry. I hit the wrong button and I disconnected. Sorry.
No problem.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Richie. How are you?
Very well, thank you. The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. All right. Well, I'm just trying to get a feeling, and I don't necessarily need an answer still this week, but maybe by next week or your next meeting, what you're thinking for the fireworks. The company would like to know if we're going to go ahead with it or postpone it. In my gut, I would love to go with 4th of July, but I honestly feel that we probably will not be ready to have our large crowd gathering like that. So, I'm good either way. Whatever you say, I'll do.
Okay. Oh, Jen, thanks for your help. And has the board got any input, Mark and?
No, I think that what Jen and Tony says is right on. We have to wait and see. I don't think it's the time to make a decision, and we got a few weeks to see what happens. But it looks likely that we'll probably postpone it to some later date in the year.
I do have the company penciled us in for the Labor Day weekend in hopes that maybe if we can't do 4th of July, we could maybe close our summer out with a celebration.
That's a great idea.
How long will you be able to hold on to that reservation, Jen? Couple more weeks?
Probably till the beginning of August. So I probably have the 4th of July date for another week or so, week and a half. I can probably push them out. And then we would, go on to the September. If September was still not ready, then I'm thinking maybe Columbus Day weekend or Veterans Day weekend. We have a lot of flexibility after Labor Day with that. So But I honestly feel, I don't know what schools are doing, but if we can put a bunch of kids back into a school, we should be able to have a 4th of July celebration at Labor Day.
All right, well, if we have a couple weeks, why don't we defer the decision until the next meeting?
Great, thank you.
Very good. What do we got next?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Tony,
Yes.
you got anything else?
I think we're at 3A.
You guys are on new business, 3A. So
All right,
You got it.
so I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the April 16th, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting minutes.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second, Mark Cullen.
Motion's been second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
T. Lombard, aye. Next.
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Section 1 of Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020, move to postpone annual town meeting from June 27th, 2020 to a date to be determined.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been
Before-
second. Discussion.
Before you guys go further on that, there's some discussion that we need to have on the procedure. The new legislation, Section 1, in most of town council's viewing around the Commonwealth, allow you to make a vote to do just exactly what you're doing. Every week, the Mass Municipal Law Association has a conference call every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and this came up yesterday. And then someone brought up this notion that town meeting has to at least start before June 30th, and then it can be gone into recess immediately, and then be continued in 30-day increments. I don't think that's the way it needs to go. And most attorneys I spoke to between yesterday and now agree with me. I reached out to the municipal law unit, the Attorney General's office, Margaret Hurley, and she is going to get back to me with regard to the correct process. So unless we need to vote on this tonight, I suggest we suspend it and wait until the next meeting so we'll make sure we do it right. Rest assured, we will not have town meeting on June 27th. It's just a matter of how we do it properly.
That's fine
It
with
would be
me.
difficult. It would be difficult to start a town meeting and then postpone it, because in order to start it, you have to have a quorum. And so trying to do it before June 30th, start a quorum and then put it immediately, put it into recess would be difficult.
That's why it didn't make sense to me. The moment this attorney suggested it, it didn't make any sense to me. But I want to make sure we're doing it right so we don't have to backtrack at all. And I don't think we're under a time deadline at the moment. We're still a month and 6 days away.
Are you asking that I retract my motion?
Yes, just for the time being, we'll table it until next meeting, by which time we'll have a clear direction moving forward.
There's
Okay.
one other point that we should think about, though, before we do that. Is there anything in the warrant that requires actual action before June 30th? So it's one thing to postpone the town meeting, but if there's something in the warrant that it will go bad on us or do something wrong that where we need to have some kind of action, legislative action on it before June 30th. I'm not familiar with what's in the warrant right now, but I just wanted to ask that question.
It would be the budget. That would be the biggest thing, and salaries and whatnot. That's really the only thing that has to be in the annual town meeting warrant is the budget. There are procedures now in place pursuant to the new legislation that gives town hall the ability to contact the DOR and get 1/12 vote authorization for 2 or 3 months at a time if they need it. So that's the only thing I think that we would have to do before June 30th. And there are avenues in place to get that done.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Dan, is there anything in the legislation regarding deficit spending?
We are able to incur debts beyond appropriation at the moment. Absolutely. That's what the state of emergency allows us to do. But when we go to pay those debts, we just have to put a quick correspondence into the DOR, the Director of Accounts, Mary Jo Handy, who will turn that right around and give us authorization to pay that. But we can accrue it right now. We just have to get her authorization to pay it.
The guidance, Mark, the guidance that we've received from DOR on the 112 budgeting is that it actually is deficit spending. So it's more of a spending plan that we submit in advance to the Department of Revenue for their approval. And we essentially deficit spend the first 3 months. If we were to have this meeting in September, we would be, deficit spending the first 3 months of the fiscal year, and then come to town meeting and vote on the full budget, having already spent 3 months of it. They've also provided us procedure to encumber things like snow and ice, that we typically would do an Article 3 line transfer at town meeting to make sure that we don't close the year in a deficit. They're providing us procedure on that as well. So I don't see, I think that what Dan brought up, I think, we should check that box before the vote. I think that the general consensus is that had we have posted the warrant already for the meeting, then we might fall in that box of needing to open and postpone. But whereas we have not posted the warrant yet, most likely all it takes is a vote of the Board of Selectmen under the
I agree, Tony.
legislation.
Is there anything, sometimes the payment of prior years that's gets a little tricky. Is that something that we should have in mind as well?
Yes, and it's something that we can take up whenever we do have town meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, with that said, then, Mr. Chairman, I'll retract my original motion to postpone the annual town meeting until next week or the week after.
That's fine. That's okay with me. Josh?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. We'll put it, Tony, we'll add it to the next agenda. All right?
Yes, will do. Dan, that's all as far as meeting procedure goes. It's just the original person who made the motion just retracts.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay. Okay.
The next topic is amend the PALE agreement. PALE stands for Play It As It Lies agreement. I move the Board of Selectmen pursuant to section 5.8 of the Kelly Greens lease agreement, amend the expiration date of the agreement from December 31st, 2021 to October 31st, 2020.
That's
Is there a second?
Seconded, Mark.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion?
Tony, do you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Dan, please jump in when you feel it's necessary. So for those on the call, we have been in discussion back and forth with Play It As It Lies about the existing agreement that we have with them. We have agreed mutually to shorten the lease that from the existing contract that would have went to 2021 to October of this year. The need for this amendment is that what the town would like to, and so would Play It As It Lies, work with the town to have as seamless of a transition from the current lessee to whoever may be the next. And that process will require a public bid. And of course, going to a public bid without this type of amendment to the contract would cause problems and potentially impact those who would have interest in bidding on it. We are still in negotiations with Play It As It Lies regarding past due payments. I will say that they are making as best an effort as possible to get up to speed with what they owe the town per their contract. It certainly was difficult for them to do so over the winter and then with the coronavirus. We're also, having discussions about potential change to monthly rent while coronavirus is in place and that they are not able to operate the dining room at full capacity. So it's, I will say that John Moore, the owner of the company, has been working with us regularly. He's working with us, communicating with us regularly. He is doing all he can, and the course is in immaculate shape. It looks great. And I think that we both agree, it's in the best interest of both parties to move on at the end of the summer. Dan, do you want to add anything into that?
Yeah, two things. One was the intent of this amendment is to put a clear line at the end of the tunnel, which is Halloween. And that would give us an idea as to how much we can expect from Play As It Lies in terms of payments and what they can pay us in that time. But even more importantly, it was more aimed at easing the concern of bidders who might come to the bid, as Tony mentioned earlier, not being sure that Halloween or there is a specific end date. Well, now there is. So it makes our job a lot easier to attract new talent to come in and take over that golf course. And I've been working with Pete Fitzpatrick from the golf committee, and he's going to get his folks to sign off on this as well. And then we'll be able to put this part behind us.
Are they going to start the process to go out to bid?
I believe so. I will talk to them about that, but I believe that's on their list.
Well, we should give them that direction then, so that they have a few months.
Yeah.
I will do
I
that.
think, Tony, you need to get with them in the committee and give them direction so that we can go out to bid and we don't miss a stroke down there.
Absolutely. I've worked with the chairman of the committee as well to keep them informed of where we were heading here. They know the direction we're heading in. They have some direction already, but wanted to wait really until this vote. So they'll start by trying to develop work off of the old RFP, make any changes that may be necessary, and put something together. And hopefully I'll have some type of timeline for you, but this is the first step in that direction. And again, I just say that I think I commend Johnny Moore for being so open and cooperative with the town, and really trying to do whatever he can to see that the golf course succeeds in the future.
Yes. Okay. Tony, would you notify the chairman of golf that he needs to go back out to bid and start putting the bid process out together to replace John Moore? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but do you guys still have to vote on that motion? I think you do.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
we do. We haven't voted on that. The motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Roll call vote. Mark?
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh,
Josh Antrim, aye. Josh Antrim, aye.
Richie Lombard, aye. Unanimous vote, so we're all set there, Tony, okay?
Okay,
You can start the process with Peter. And by the way, you can pass along, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, Peter and the Golf Committee have done an outstanding job, and we appreciate very much their extra efforts in, being on the Golf Committee and Chairman of the Golf Committee. I would pass that on from the Board of Selectmen.
I will.
Thank you.
Put that, is that?
What else we got?
I'll breeze through the town administrator report. Boats have been launched. We already talked about it. We already really got through that. I'll thank all the boat owners as well for cooperating with the town and keeping each other safe down there while they were working on their boats and throughout the launch. Also, public access equipment upgrades. I've been talking about this one for a while. We hit some delays coming in the early part of the calendar year, but the project is going to start next week. So this is the public access equipment that we utilize in the main hall for Board of Selectmen meetings, for town meeting, for any type of events that are featured there. It includes the new switchboard, HD cameras, new production equipment, and I also want to thank Peter Barba, the chair of the Coast Guard Redevelopment Committee. Peter donated 2 high-end projectors that we may be able to incorporate into this project. So I want to thank him as well. Also, a quick update on Green Communities streetlight project. We as of the 18th, we now officially own all of our streetlights, and we are in the process of in the bid process of procuring the materials, LED materials, and next will be to procure a contractor to replace our streetlights to LEDs. And it's, I commend Zach Taylor and Diane Monteith of the Green Communities Committee for working so hard on getting this project up and running. The total cost of this project is somewhere around $180,000, and we have $129,000 from the Green Communities grant, plus we have another $20,000 from an MAPC grant potentially, and then another around $20,000 from National Grid for upgrading to LEDs. So the payback on this investment is 3 months or less, and we'll be seeing somewhere around $30,000 in savings on electricity costs and streetlights alone once this project is completed. So very exciting. And as soon as we complete this project, we are then eligible for competitive grants with Green Communities for up to $250,000. So very exciting that we're moving along with that project. And I will also, I want to commend the fire department. They worked with me and National Grid to get a new ocean rescue truck. So we had talked about a few months back, we talked about our current ocean rescue vehicle, and it's really on its last leg, rusting away, a lot of mechanical issues. And, to replace that vehicle, it's quite a costly expense. So through working with National Grid, we were able to purchase a surplus vehicle for free, essentially. And and it's actually in the parking lot right now. We need to get it painted and outfitted, but it's 10 years old. It's only got 30,000 miles on it, and it's going to work out great for us. So commend the fire department for finding a cost-efficient alternative solution to that, the need to replace that capital item. And I guess just lastly, I know we've talked about Memorial Day, the Memorial Day celebration a number of times already. And just a couple other people I think are worth mentioning. Again, Molly Conlon, the chairwoman of the committee for, I think, close to 40 years, working nonstop, hand in hand with Bobby Joe, as on behalf of the selectmen and I. For me, I've been so consumed by other coronavirus-related issues, and but Memorial Day is so important, and I really was able to, let Bobby Joe took it and ran with it and worked with Molly Conlon and a number of folks, and it was really hands-off from my perspective. So I really thank them for doing that. Ed Manzano, the Board of Selectmen, of course, for being featured in the video, all of the members of the Memorial Day Parade Committee, the American Legion, our veterans agent, John Lazar, the Women's Auxiliary, the Johnson School and the sixth grade class for going through the Gettysburg Address competition and the student that won. The police and fire department for participating in the video. The DPW and Dave Wilson specifically for cleaning up the cemetery and getting that ready to go ahead of schedule compared to previous years, and it looks great. And also Bradley McDonough. Folks may know Bradley, may have seen him once in a while here in the town hall when we were open. He is a high school student at Swampscott, and he interns with us and helps us out with public access video and things of that nature. And he also spent a lot of time editing. I know the moderator provided some older, dusty videos of old Memorial Day parades. He worked converting those and getting them incorporated into this video. So there's probably a dozen more people to mention. And again, I can't thank them all enough, where, I've been so pulled into so many different directions that for all the work that they did. And I think it's a moment in history that's going to be remembered, for forever. And I appreciate, all the work they did and everybody that contributed to it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Tony. I'm glad you brought that all up about the Memorial Day and the cemetery. That was good. David Wilson's done a great job, and the cemetery looks fantastic. We were down there visiting. And the Memorial Day, the committee, especially Molly, she did a great job getting it all done. And as in the past, she's always she's led the way there. Great leader, and a great, the great team. Her and her husband, Dave, they do a lot for the town. People don't realize. Okay. Anything else, Tony?
No, next on the list is Citizens Forum. So if anybody,
Before we get into the citizen forum, I had one question about the street lights. And we can follow up later if you want on this. We don't need to get into a big discussion about it. And I'm not quite sure about the technology in terms of the LEDs, but are we looking at the wattages throughout town? I know that the higher wattages on Nahant Road, lower at on the side streets, and also the possibility of putting sort of nightscape lenses on the fixtures so they're not shining up into the night and those types of things.
Absolutely. We did a full audit. We hired Tanco lighting company, I think, and they came and did a full audit of all of our streetlights and underground lights. And we got all that data, so we know, so where floodlights. So all of these lights, and we had kind of a spectrum in the procurement of wattage and temperature of these lights, and we picked ones that are less you know, a little bit warmer in color, a little bit healthier, I guess. We looked at, did a bunch of research. Tanco had known a bunch of this because of many communities have requested a similar, you know, similar type of light because of concerns for, you know, health impacts, dark sky type of thing. It's all directive lighting. So it's similar to, you know, the causeway where, you know, if you look at the causeway, it's like you don't, you know, it just shines straight down.
Right.
And it doesn't shine up, it doesn't shine left and right. It won't shine into people's homes. You know, it's a much improved. It also will have the ability to set up controls. It's a little out of our price range to invest in the controls right now, but they will be have the ability to install controls so that, you know, we could actually set the lights that they dim to a certain wattage during certain hours of the night so that you're using less electricity. We can put that switch in your kitchen if you'd like, Mark. You can.
I don't want to have control of that. But I'll be in touch with you on it, Tony. That sounds great. I mean, I think that has so much potential and how it affects our environment and how it affects, you know, how we, you know, just enjoy the evening in the hunt.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait.
So, I mean, you know, a lot of teamwork went into that, and it's going to save us a lot of money and also, you know, lower the town's carbon footprint. So that's a win all around.
Yeah, definitely.
Tony, talking about lights, you haven't forgotten me about putting the lights up at the Davis Memorial?
No, actually, I think Zach had already. Let me double check with Zach. The last I talked to him, and it was a while ago, Mr. Chairman, but he had scheduled the work to occur. I don't know if they actually ran the wire yet, but I'll double check with them.
Yeah, and on the stone too. I mean, you might have it too, but that would be nice if we could light up that flag up there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Excellent. Thank you. I for some reason when you said it, rang a bell with me. Thank you for following up on that.
No problem.
What else we got?
Just citizens forum. So I was just going to say that if anybody on the call has any questions or comments during citizens forum, if you could type it, if you click on the bottom of if you're on Zoom and you scroll your mouse over the bottom of your screen, a chat icon is there. You click on that and you can submit if you have any questions or comments through the chat function. If you're not on Zoom and you're calling in by phone, you have the ability to unmute yourself if you have any questions. And just please state your name and address.
Yes, Tony, if I may.
Yes, Sharon Hawks, librarian.
Yep. Thank you. Sharon Hawks at Nahant Public Library. We've been busy this summer, even though we have been closed to the public. We've been busy pointing people to our online books and resources. So everybody's been signing up even remotely. We can sign people up for a library card. We can talk them through what they need to do to get online and receive ebooks, which is really helpful to be able to do now, but they can do it 24/7 anytime they want. Thousands and thousands of books are available through our 2 ebook platforms, as well as music and movies and television shows and even comic books. So please contact us by email. We are still working. let's see, and we've also been through social media. We've been telling people about free quality programs, everything from poetry reads to all kinds of different theater programs, music programs, virtual tours. So there's been a lot of being offered so that people can be entertained with quality communications. Let's see, so now we're coming forward to the governor recommending paths to reopening. Behind the scenes, we've been working for over a month now on how we might do this and ask at this time if we reopen not to the public, but to delivering books and receiving books back. The statewide delivery service is not online yet, but libraries all over the Commonwealth are going to be offering materials from their own libraries. I get asked every week, several people going, when are the books going to be available again? I do know that this is a down economy and is going to probably continue to be. And when that happens, people turn to their libraries because they're no longer buying books. If their computer breaks, they're going to need computers, and that comes up later. We're going to make sure that our Wi-Fi is available from outside the building for people who need it. So we have submitted all the relevant paperwork, and with the support of the Board of Health, we'd like to move forward with just doing book delivery, curbside and personal delivery. What we do is it's a no contact process. We disinfect anything that's going out, and we make sure that the things that are going out can be disinfected. It was a 7-step process that was vetted by the town health agent over a month ago. And we arrange with the patron to deliver it to the outside of their home, so there will be no contact. I guess my last piece is stay tuned. We are still going to do the summer reading program. That is going to be announced next week through our email newsletter, and it will be all virtual. So hold on to your hats, because we're going to be doing a bunch of things we haven't even done before. We're going to be delivering our own story times and so on online. We'll be doing some games, contests, and some very special events all online this year, and we're looking forward to that. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. I think there's probably a lot of people weren't aware of some of those services you're offering while the library is closed. So thanks for publicizing it.
Yep, thank you very much. We're still connecting with people by email. We've even personally emailed some of our seniors from our memory cafe and so on, just to keep in touch with some of our patrons and all. And the answer is always, when are you going to open again? When can we get the books again? So let's go with soon.
I know, me and my grandchildren are missing that.
I know. Yeah, so we're gonna, eventually, and that's gonna be much farther down the line, we will open to small numbers of people in a very controlled manner. It is my job to make sure, first of all, that my staff is safe, and second, that the public is as well. And so that will be done in a very conservative manner. But first, we're gonna start up with something very simple that we know we can do, which is provide books.
That's great. Thank you, Sharon.
Thanks very much.
There's a comment from Michelle Capano in the chat asking if we can share any updates on the matter with Northeastern. Mr. Chairman, or any other selectmen, I'll defer to you on that question. I've been pretty much swamped with coronavirus stuff lately, so.
Well, couple things. I know that there's an archaeologist that's been retained by Northeastern that is beginning to do some research and reconnaissance up there in regards to Mass Historical Commission's comments during the NEPA process. I've asked the town administrator to, a few months ago, to contact Northeastern because we like to sit down and talk to them, and I think that's going along, and I think we'll be able to do that soon to see if there's anything that we can discuss and hopefully come to agreements on. So I think that's going to happen soon, and we'll report back when we find out. Anything else, Tony?
You reminded me. We haven't mentioned it in a little bit of time, but the comment deadline for the final EIR was extended to June 12th. So folks who are looking to submit comments to MEPA regarding Northeastern's final environmental impact report, they are due June 12th.
And secondly, Tony, I know that the Finance Committee on Tuesday night voted to send a recommendation to you and to the Board of Selectmen to hire an outside consultant to investigate what the financial impacts of such a development would be on the town. So I look forward to working with you and my colleagues on putting that together.
You're right. Sorry, I blanked on that. I was on that call and got a preview of the. They put together kind of a scope of work, so I got a preview of that, and I told them that I would share it with the board whenever the chairman sends it to me, and if the scope needs to be adjusted or anything, we'll let them know.
I guess one final note is that the zoning bylaw change that was voted on last November, that's been posted on the nahant.org website, and in the notice was in the lid item as well. So that's in place.
Okay, I don't have any other questions in the chat. If anybody else on the call has a question or comment, like I said, please. Oh, wait a minute. All right, I have Alice. Do you want to unmute yourself? And
Sure. So I had a question related, just to clarify something about the COVID-19 restrictions, and based on what you had said earlier, as I understood it. I understand that even though the governor may be allowing certain openings as of Monday, for Nahant, you said the playgrounds are not opening further, so they are open only for walking. The golf course has been opened already, but with the restrictions of 6-foot distancing. And the basketball courts are not yet available for use. You mentioned that tennis courts are also not being opened on Nahant, but according to the governor's office, tennis is a non-contact sport. That is one that was going to be allowed to be opened as of May 25th. But is this one also being delayed by the town of Nahant?
yes, so playgrounds, as in playground structures, those are roped off, closed off, swing sets, slides, jungle gyms, things like that. Those are closed off and will continue to be closed off. Really, we don't have the ability to decontaminate those structures or those facilities regularly enough that, I feel comfortable opening those up quite yet. To be honest with you, basketball courts and tennis courts, I was leaning towards following, following the governor's lifting of the restriction on those two, starting the 25th. However, as we mentioned in the beginning of the call, the governor does allow us to go more strict and not lift those restrictions quite yet, depending on the impact of the coronavirus at the local level. And over the last, I'll just, like I said, in May, we had a case on the 3rd, on the 4th, on the 9th, on the 11th. We had 2 on the 13th, 1 on the 14th, 1 on the 18th, and 2 on the 20th. So, they just keep popping up. And so, I really, personally, I'd prefer to keep those closed and try not to encourage that, type of activity quite yet until we get a few days in a row, couple days in a row, 3, 4, maybe 5 days in a row of no new cases. So yes, they will remain, parking lots, playgrounds, basketball courts, and tennis courts are going to remain closed until further notice.
I think, my question is in part that the governor actually made a distinction between basketball and tennis, that basketball obviously has a lot more contact than tennis does. But I understand, I hadn't been aware of how steady the details of the positive cases was in terms of the information that you've gotten. I have, wanted to remind people that wearing masks, I mean, I think the nurse, the health nurse had mentioned that people are really kind of ignoring a lot of the recommendations, and wearing masks, walking around town, you still see a lot of people who don't even have a mask around their neck in case they pull it up. And
Right.
I think that it would be great if people on the hunt are reminded that it is still important to protect one another by wearing masks around town. Thanks.
Definitely. Absolutely. I'm going to do a call tomorrow. Again, we're really trying to pass that message along that, while restrictions seem to be lifting here in Nahant, our numbers are kind of going in the opposite direction. And I think, the last thing anyone wants to experience is themselves or a loved one or a neighbor gets sick. And certainly, I think, restarting the process, like, as we mentioned early in the, maybe a month or so ago when this first started, is that, other countries, other places in the world experienced second waves that were 2 or 3 times as high as their first wave. And I don't think anybody wants to restart this process. I can tell you our health nurse definitely doesn't want to restart the process. So, yes, definitely, Alice. I think it's very important. I know that John and Deb, our police, even myself, when I bump into folks that are in a group or don't have masks or anything, we're trying to kindly educate folks as much as we can when that happens about the importance of having a mask on. And that we just, I think the best thing we can do is just push the message out as much as possible.
Right.
So I saw the governor's distinction there on tennis versus basketball, other sports and things of that nature. And I hear you. Like I said, I was ready to open it up, but the numbers just keep coming in. So as soon as we can, we will. I know people are eager to get get back. I spoke to someone from the league up at the country club yesterday or the day before. So, you know, when something like that opens up, you know, we're going to want to see, you know, some type of written safety plan about, you know, people using, you know, are only going to be using their own equipment, you know, they're not going to be using the restroom, or if they are going to be using the restroom building, that it's being regularly cleaned, that people are going to, you know, stay separate from each other, 6 feet or more while, you know, not playing, you know, if they're on the side of the court, you know, things like that. So we'll get there. We'll get there. I just have one last thing in the chat group here about any word on the sailing program. Nothing yet. Same kind of follows the same line of communication with as these other things. So no decision yet there. You know, we'll be working with them as well as the Park League, as well as Little League, baseball, and the other types of activities that occur over the summer. You know, we don't have any word on it quite yet, though. So that's all in the chat group. If no one else, if anybody else has anything to say, just Michelle Capano, will the beach cleanup be held also? You know, Michelle, I haven't. It kept getting postponed. I'll have to connect with Vi on that. You know, again, as long as it's limited to how many people are participating at a time, or, you know, that people are wearing masks, that it's, you know, it's just everything that gets put in front of me, we have to kind of go through with like a you know, a comb and really like get into the details about how it's gonna work. And, you know, and again, until we see like multiple days in a row of no new cases, I'm not in a huge rush to get back to that, you know, to those activities. But I'll connect with Vi on that one. Thanks for reminding me.
Okay.
Anything else, Tony?
No, I don't see anything else in the chat group.
Okay. Josh, you got anything?
No, I do not.
Mark, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Debbie, is Debbie still on there?
I'm still here, Richie.
Okay.
No, you
John?
know, I just want to say something, you know, like I mentioned at the very beginning, people gathering, crowds of 30 people on the front lawn, shoulder to shoulder, no masks on, having birthday parties. And people only see what we have for numbers, you know, for the town, but I know all the people because I call them every day. These people are so sick, and they are, I mean, it's really unbelievable what this virus does to people. And these aren't all old people like in the age group. I can say that because I'm in the age group, but these are young people too. We've had people in all age groups, you know, all different occupations. And it's really, I just wish people would be more aware when they're getting together in these groups of the potential, you know, what this virus can really do to people, that's all. And the people that I call have been unbelievable. They're just, you know, they're just all wonderful people that have been taken down with this. And like I said before, it's taken some of them a really long time to turn it around. So I just hope that people can just be aware of that and think about these poor people that are so sick, and do a little bit better job of protecting themselves and protecting others. And that's it.
Thanks, Debbie.
And for anyone on the call, if you're doing the wrong thing and Deb is heading in your direction, you know, she's a very pleasant woman, very pleasant to deal with. You know, none of us, no one here caused this problem. We're all dealing with it just like all of you. And, you know, I know it's a tough position to be in, John and Deb but I appreciate everything you guys have been doing. And I know you're looking out for the public, for the neighbors. And, so be nice to Deb. Be nice to Deb when she comes talking to you.
The best. Tony, maybe it's time to put the signboard at the entrance to town about wearing the mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have it on right now. I'm prioritizing parking, you know, that there's no, you know, it's all resident parking beyond that point, because we're seeing so many people come into town and finding places to park and mingle. And so I'm really trying to push that message right now, but we could probably flash it back and forth.
Yeah, well, we just, you know, with Lynn Beach being closed, that parking lot got closed, especially this coming weekend. I think we're going to get inundated. The police chief's not on this phone, is he?
No, but I spoke with him already. We got extra guys working this weekend. We have, we've even, you know, he's also had, I don't know if you've noticed, but we've had the tow company have their trucks actually in the bank parking lot here on the island. So folks coming in actually have that visual and see that, you know, it won't be long before they get caught. So we're doing everything we can.
Problem is, it's going to be a great weekend, and we're going to have, you know, especially with the beach parking lot closed, you know what I mean? People are going to wander in here. So, okay. Okay, Mark, you got anything else? Josh?
I'm all set.
No.
Okay.
If everybody's all set, I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion's been second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Josh Ingram, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Steve Lombard, aye. Good night. God bless. Have a great weekend, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.